The misdirected message. Priya Sharma stared at her computer screen through bleary eyes. The office around her long since emptied. At 27, she'd been with Horizon Digital for 3 years, and still found herself working past midnight on Fridays while her ideas collected dust in folders labeled future consideration. Tonight had been particularly brutal. Her proposal for an accessibility-focused redesign of their client's e-commerce platform had been dismissed without even a proper review. Too ambitious, they said. Not scalable, they claimed. The same executives who praised similar ideas when presented by her male colleagues. She rubbed her temples and opened her email. Her best friend Zoe would understand. Zoe always did. Subject: why I'm considering arson as a career change, Priya typed, allowing herself a small smile at her own dark humor. Dear Zoe, it happened again. 3 weeks of research, mock-ups and user testing, all for Takanashi Electronics, completely ignored. Garrett gave my presentation exactly 2 minutes before suggesting we stick with convention. Translation: stick with HIS mediocre template that hasn't changed since 2019. Sometimes I wonder if I'm invisible or if my voice just doesn't carry past my cubicle. Maybe I should tattoo my ideas on my forehead, or perhaps get a man to repeat them verbatim, since that seems to be the only way they're heard. I'm tired, Zoe, so tired of watching brilliant concepts die because they came from the wrong person. They keep saying innovation is their priority, but what they really want is safe, predictable, and boring. The kicker: I just found out Westwood Technologies might acquire the Westwood as in Nathaniel West's empire, and now my chance to impress them is gone because apparently having a spine and original thoughts is too threatening. They say West is some kind of genius visionary. Well, visionaries recognize other visionaries, don't they? Not that I'll ever get within a mile of him. Men like that live on a different planet than people like me. Anyway, I'm bringing wine tomorrow. Lots of it, where you can toast to my inevitable descent into corporate dronehood, or plan my escape to that design studio we always talked about opening. Love you, Priyoshi. Clicked send and sighed, gathering her belongings. It was only after she'd shut down her computer that she noticed the small notification on her phone. Email sent to Nathaniel West. Priya froze, her blood turning to ice. No, that was impossible. She fumbled with her phone, heart pounding as she opened her sent messages. There it was. Her rant, her completely unprofessional, borderline insubordinate rant sent directly to Nathaniel West's personal email address, the very same address she'd been researching earlier for the client dossier. Oh my God, she whispered, collapsing back into her chair. Nathaniel West wasn't just any CEO at 36. He'd built Westwood Technologies from a garage startup into a global technological behemoth, known for his brilliant mind and uncompromising standards. He was both feared and revered throughout the industry, and she'd just called his potential acquisition boring and implied he wouldn't recognize talent if it hit him in the face. Panic seized her chest. She could be fired, blacklisted. Her career could end tonight because of one careless mistake. She frantically searched for a way to recall the email, knowing it was futile. Then considered sending an apology, but what could she possibly say? Sorry for implying you and your business partners are blind to innovation. No hard feelings. Priya grabbed her coat and bag, nearly running to the elevator. She needed to get home, needed to think. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe he never checked his own email. Maybe some assistant would delete it without him ever seeing it. Her phone pinged just as she reached the lobby. New email from Nathaniel West. Priya closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and with trembling fingers, opened the message. Ms. Sharma, you're right. Innovation is rarely recognized by those who fear it. I've reviewed your Takanashi proposal. It's better than anything my team has suggested. Coffee. Tomorrow 10 a.m. The Crimson Calf on 8th. Come prepared to defend your ideas properly this time. N. West. Priya stared at her phone, reading the message 3 times before its meaning penetrated her shock. He had answered. He had seen her work, and he wanted to meet her. Tomorrow, the unexpected reply. The Crimson Calf buzzed with Saturday morning patrons, weekend warriors in athleisure, tourists studying maps, and locals lingering over latte. Priya arrived 20 minutes early, her portfolio clutched to her chest like armor, and claimed a corner table with good lighting but minimal exposure. Her night had been sleepless, cycling between terror and exhilaration. By dawn, she'd revamped her entire presentation, anticipating every possible question or objection. If Nathaniel West was giving her this chance, however bizarre the circumstances, she wouldn't squander it. At precisely 9:59, the cafe's atmosphere shifted, conversations quieted, heads turned, and Priya knew before looking up that he had arrived. Nathaniel West moved with the quiet confidence of someone who never needed to announce himself, tall and lean. He wore a simple charcoal sweater and dark jeans that somehow looked more sophisticated than most people's formal wear. His dark hair was shorter on the sides, slightly longer on top, and his jawline could have been carved from marble. But it was his eyes that captured Priya's attention, intelligent, and the color of a stormy sea. Those eyes found her immediately. He approached her table without hesitation, as if they'd planned this meeting weeks ago rather than through an accidental email rant. Ms. Sharma, he said, extending his hand. Nathaniel West. His handshake was firm, brief. "Please, call me Priya." "Priya," he repeated, taking the seat across from her. "I assume you've recovered from last night's panic attack." Her cheeks warmed. "I considered changing my name and moving to another country, but the paperwork seemed excessive." The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but close, a reasonable assessment of the situation. A server materialized at their table. Nathaniel ordered black coffee without looking at the menu. Priya requested a chai latte, her usual Saturday indulgence. Once they were alone again, his gaze sharpened. "Your email was ... illuminating, Mr. West, about that Nathaniel." "Nathaniel," she corrected. "That email wasn't meant for you, obviously, clearly. That's why it was honest." He leaned forward slightly. "Do you know how many carefully crafted, soulless pitches I receive daily? Everyone trying to impress me with what they think I want to hear. And what I sent was better," she asked skeptically. "Refreshing," he clarified. "But more importantly, your accessibility proposal for Takanashi was exceptional." Priya blinked. "How did you even see that?" "I never attached it. I had my team pull all recent proposals after your email. Yours was buried under 3 others, with none of your name on the presentation slides. Interesting oversight." Anger flashed through her. "Not an oversight. My manager removed my name." Something cold flickered in his eyes. "I see." He accepted his coffee from the returning server, took a sip, then set it down precisely. "Tell me why your design is superior to the others." And just like that, they were discussing her work. Not the awkward circumstances of their meeting, not her embarrassing emails, just pure, focused analysis of her ideas. Nathaniel didn't just listen. He challenged, questioned, and occasionally nodded with approval. He noticed details she thought no one would care about, spotted potential flaws she hadn't considered. An hour passed in what felt like minutes. Their drinks grew cold, forgotten. The color contrast ratios exceed accessibility standards while maintaining brand identity, she explained, pointing to her monitor. And this navigation pattern reduced user error by 43% in testing. Nathaniel's fingers brushed hers as he took the tablet, sending an unexpected current up her arm. Their eyes met briefly before he looked away, studying her design. "Implementation costs," he asked, "higher initially, but the projected customer retention increase offsets that within 8 months." She pulled up another document. "I ran the numbers." He reviewed her calculations, nodding slowly. "Impressive." He set down the tablet. "I'm acquiring Takanashi next month." "I know," she admitted. "It's been rumored for weeks." "It's no longer a rumor, and I want your design to be their new platform." Priya stared at him. "Are you serious?" "I rarely joke about business decisions." He finished his coffee. "But there's a problem. Your current employment situation is ... suboptimal." "You mean working for people who steal my ideas and bury my work?" "Precisely." He checked his watch, a simple, elegant timepiece that probably costs more than her annual salary. "I have a proposal. Westwood is launching a new division focused on accessible technology solutions. We need a creative director." The air left Priya's lungs. "And you're offering me an interview," he clarified, "next week, with my executive team." "Why?" The question escaped before she could stop it. Nathaniel regarded her with that intense gaze. "Because talent shouldn't be wasted, Miss Sharma. And because I suspect there's more in that mind of yours than one good design." He stood, placing a business card on the table. "Monday, 2 p.m., my office." He paused. "And Priya?" "Yes." "Next time you consider arson as a career change, I recommend consulting a lawyer first." With that hint of dry humor, he turned and left, the cafe patrons watching his departure as they had his arrival. Priya stared at the elegant card in her hand, embossed with just his name and a private number, not an assistant's line or generic email, his direct contact. Her phone chimed with a message from Zoe. "Did you send me an email last night?" "Never got it." Priya laughed softly to herself, typing back, "Wrong recipient, but somehow, exactly the right one." Asterisk code and connection. Over the next 3 weeks, Priya's life transformed entirely. The interview with Westwood's executive team had been intense but successful, culminating in an offer that doubled her salary and gave her creative control over the new accessibility division. She'd accepted on the spot. Her first day at Westwood Technologies had been a blur of sleek design, cutting-edge technology, and the distinct feeling that she'd stepped into another world. The 50-story glass building in the heart of the financial district housed over 3,000 employees. Yet somehow Nathaniel seemed aware of everything happening within its walls. "The Takanashi redesign needs to be completed within 6 weeks, he informed her, leading her through the design floor on her 3rd day. "You'll have a team of 8. Choose them yourself." "Anyone in the company?" "Anyone?" Priya asked, surprised. "Anyone," he confirmed, "except Lancaster in UX. Brilliant designer, impossible personality." She smiled despite herself. Noted working with Nathaniel proved both exhilarating and exhausting. He expected excellence without exception, yet recognized genuine constraints. He could be coldly analytical one moment and unexpectedly perceptive the next. Most surprisingly, he remembered everything, every detail she mentioned, every concern she raised. 2 weeks into the project, they found themselves alone in the strategy room well past midnight. surrounded by digital markups and half-eaten takeout. The navigation still isn't intuitive enough, Nathaniel said, rubbing his temples. Users with cognitive disabilities will struggle here. Priya suppressed a yawn. I know, I've been thinking about a contextual assistant feature. She pulled up a rough sketch on her tablet, something like this. He moved closer to examine her design, his shoulder brushing hers. That could work. His voice had softened slightly. You look exhausted. I'm fine, she insisted, though her eyes burned from staring at screens. Your productivity decreases approximately 27% after 16 hours of work, he observed. You should go home. She raised an eyebrow. Have you been tracking my productivity? I notice patterns, he said simply. Then, more quietly, you remind me of myself. Before what? Nathaniel was silent for a moment. Before I learned that burning out serves no one. Something in his tone made her set down her tablet. Why did you really hire me, Nathaniel? His eyes met hers, stormy and unreadable. I told you. Your talent. There are plenty of talented designers, she interrupted. Why me specifically? He looked away, focusing on the cityscape beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Your email mentioned a design studio. With your friend, Zoe, Priya supplied. It's been our dream since college. Why haven't you pursued it? She laughed softly. Money, security, fear of failure. Take your pick. Yet you weren't afraid to tell the truth in that email, knowing it could cost you everything. That was an accident. The sending was accidental. The words were genuine. He turned back to her. I built this company because I couldn't stand working for people who couldn't see what I saw. People who chose safe over revolutionary. Understanding dawned on her. You saw yourself in my frustration. He nodded almost imperceptibly. But I never had someone give me a chance. I had to take one. In that moment, something shifted between them, an understanding that transcended their professional relationship. Nathaniel West wasn't just a billionaire tech mogul. He was someone who recognized the struggle of being perpetually underestimated. The next few weeks fell into a pattern: intense workdays, late-night collaboration sessions, and increasingly personal conversations. Priya learned about Nathaniel's childhood in foster care, his self-taught coding skills, and the 3 failed startups before Westwood. In turn, she shared her immigrant parents' sacrifices, her scholarship struggles, and her constant battle against imposter syndrome. The Takanashi project evolved from a simple redesign into something revolutionary: an adaptive interface that could transform based on individual user needs. Their teams watched in fascination as the two of them developed a seamless creative rhythm, finishing each other's sentences and anticipating each other's objections. They work like they share a brain. Priya overheard one developer comment. More like they share a language no one else speaks. Another replied. The night before the Takanashi presentation, they were again the last two in the office. Priya was reviewing their demonstration one final time when she noticed Nathaniel watching her. She asked, suddenly self-conscious. You look happy, he said simply. She considered this. I am. This is the first time my work has been truly valued. It's more than that, he said, moving closer. You're in your element, creating something meaningful. Their eyes met, and for once Nathaniel's carefully controlled expression softened. He reached out, his fingers lightly brushing a strand of hair from her face. Priya. The door swung open, and they stepped apart as Harrison Reed, Westwood's CFO, entered. Sorry to interrupt, he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. Nathaniel, we need to discuss the quarterly projections. The moment was broken. Nathaniel's expression returned to its usual impassivity. We'll finish tomorrow, he told Priya. Get some rest. As she gathered her things, she caught Harrison's calculating gaze following her movements. Something about it made her uneasy, but she dismissed the feeling as pre-presentation. Nerves. She couldn't have known that Harrison had already set in motion events that would test whatever was growing between her and Nathaniel, or that by this time tomorrow, everything would fall apart. Asterisk system crashed at Takanashi. Presentation was scheduled for 2 p.m. in Westwood's main conference center. Priya arrived early, perfectly prepared in a tailored burgundy suit, her confidence bolstered by weeks of rigorous testing and refinement. The room gradually filled with Takanashi executives, Westwood board members, and key stakeholders from both companies. Nathaniel arrived last, immaculate in a charcoal suit, nodding slightly to Priya as he took his seat at the head of the table. Ladies and gentlemen, he began. Today marks the official beginning of our partnership with Takanashi Electronics. To demonstrate our commitment to innovation, we've developed a completely reimagined customer experience platform. He gestured to Priya. Our new creative director, Priya Sharma, will guide you through the redesign. The presentation began flawlessly. Priya showcased the adaptive interface, demonstrating how it adjusted for different accessibility needs while maintaining brand integrity. The Takanashi executives leaned forward with interest, particularly when she revealed the projected impact on their international market share. As you can see, she concluded, this platform doesn't just meet accessibility standards, it exceeds them, creating a genuinely inclusive shopping experience that will set Takanashi apart from every competitor. Applause filled the room. The Takanashi CEO shook her hand enthusiastically. Remarkable work, Ms. Sharma. It should have been a perfect moment of triumph. Instead, Harrison Reed cleared his throat. "Before we proceed," he said, his voice carrying across the room, "I think there's a matter of transparency we should address." He slid a folder across the table toward the Takanashi CEO. "These emails suggest that Ms. Sharma's relationship with Mr. West may have influenced her rapid promotion and the selection of this project." A cold wave of shock washed over Priya murmurs, but spread through the room as the Takanashi executives exchanged uncomfortable glances. "What is this, Harrison?" Nathaniel's voice was dangerously quiet. "Just ensuring our new partners understand all factors involved in our decision-making," Harrison replied smoothly. "After all, Ms. Sharma went from sending you rather personal emails to heading a major division in less than a month. The board has concerns about proper protocols being followed." Priya's face burned as she realized Harrison had obtained an original misdirected email and potentially others since then. The room swam before her eyes as she saw the Takanashi executive's expressions shift from admiration to suspicion. She looked to Nathaniel, hoping for defense, explanation, but his face had gone completely blank, his professional mask firmly in place. "The merits of the design speak for themselves," he said coldly. "Ms. Sharma's qualifications are beyond question." "Of course," Harrison agreed with false sincerity. "I merely thought full disclosure was appropriate, given the significance of this partnership." The damage was done. What should have been Priya's professional triumph had been poisoned with insinuation. The remainder of the meeting proceeded with strained politeness, the earlier enthusiasm noticeably diminished. When it finally ended, Priya slipped out immediately, unable to face anyone. She headed straight to her office, gathering her personal items with trembling hands. She knew what she had to do. She couldn't stay here. Couldn't face the whispers and sideways glances that would inevitably follow. Her resignation letter took only minutes to write. Simple, professional, effective immediately. She was placing it on her desk when her office door opened. Nathaniel stood there, his expression unreadable. "You're leaving," he stated, seeing the empty desk. "It's the only option," she replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "My reputation can be restored. Harrison will be dealt with." "It doesn't matter," she said. "The perception is already there. Everything I do now will be questioned. Every decision, every promotion, every success I'll attribute it to whatever they think is between us." Nathaniel stepped closer. "And what is between us, Priya?" Her heart contracted painfully. "Apparently nothing strong enough for you to defend publicly." His jaw tightened. "That's unfair. I was blindsided, so was I. But I still expected." She stopped, collecting herself. "It doesn't matter what I expected. This was always too good to be true." "Don't leave," he said, and for the first time, she heard something like pleading in his voice. "We can fix this." "No, we can't. Not while I'm here." She picked up her resignation letter. "Please don't make this harder than it already is." She moved past him toward the door, but he caught her arm gently. "Where will you go?" A small, sad smile touched her lips. "Maybe it's time for that design studio after all." For a moment, she thought he might say more, might ask her to stay again. Instead, he released her arm and stepped back, the wall between them firmly rebuilding itself. "I understand," he said formally. "Human resources will process your final payment immediately." Priya nodded once, then walked out of Westwood Technologies for what she believed would be the last time, leaving behind both the career opportunity of a lifetime and the man who had somehow, against all odds, begun to matter more than she'd ever anticipated. Reboot and reconciliation. 6 months passed in a blur of determination and focused work. Using her Westwood severance as seed funding, Priya and Zoe had taken the leap and opened Chromatic Design Studio, a boutique firm specializing in accessible digital experiences. They'd started smaller, converted industrial loft space, secondhand furniture, and more ambition than clients. But word spread quickly. Priya's innovative approach to accessibility attracted attention, and within months they had secured contracts with 3 mid-sized companies and 1 non-profit organization. It wasn't wealth, but it was independence, and after Westwood, that meant everything. Priya hadn't heard from Nathaniel since her departure, though she occasionally glimpsed his name in business publications. Westwood had successfully acquired Takanashi, implemented a version of her design, though notably less ambitious than her original, and expanded into several new markets. She told herself she was happy for him, told herself she didn't miss those late-night conversations, the intellectual challenges, the rare moments when his carefully maintained facade slipped to reveal the person beneath. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Priya was alone in the studio, finalizing designs for their newest client when the front door chimed. She looked up, expecting the delivery person with their lunch order instead. Nathaniel West stood in the doorway, raindrops glistening on his dark coat. He looked both exactly the same and somehow different, still impeccably dressed, still intensely focused, but with something less rigid in his bearing. Priya stared at him, momentarily speechless. "Your security is concerning," he said by way of greeting. "Anyone could walk in here." She found her voice. "Most businesses consider that a feature, not a security flaw." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Your website lacks proper SSL certification." Did you come here to critique my business practices? No, he took a few steps forward. I came to apologize. This was so unexpected that Priya set down her stylus. For not defending you properly. For allowing Harrison to undermine you. He hesitated, uncharacteristically uncertain. For failing to acknowledge what was developing between us, which was something I hadn't experienced before. He looked around the studio, taking in the clean design, the vibrant artwork, the evidence of flourishing creativity. You've done well here. We're managing, she said carefully. More than managing, according to industry chatter. He approached her desk. Chromatic is developing quite a reputation. Pride warmed her despite her determination to remain detached. We've been fortunate. It's not fortune, it's your vision. He placed a slim folder on her desk. That's why I'm here. Curious, despite herself, Priya opened the folder to find a contract proposal. Her eyes widened as she scanned the terms. Westwood Technologies wanted to establish a significant partnership with Chromatic Design Studio, providing both capital investment and client referrals while maintaining Chromatic's independence. You want to invest in my company? Our research division needs partners who understand accessibility on a fundamental level, he explained, particularly now that we're expanding into healthcare technology. And Harrison approved this. Harrison no longer works at Westwood. Nathaniel's tone made it clear that was all he would say on the matter. This would be a strictly professional arrangement. No interference in your operations. Priya studied him, trying to read behind his carefully neutral expression. Why now? It's been 6 months. Because you needed to establish yourself first. Because I needed to reorganize certain aspects of the company. He paused. And because I needed to understand what happened. What happened when you left? He said quietly. Everything was ... less inspired, less meaningful, less worth the effort. His eyes met hers directly. I've built my life around efficiency and logic, around measurable outcomes and strategic advantages, but I couldn't quantify what was missing when you were gone. Priya's heart thumped painfully in her chest. Nathaniel, I'm not asking you to come back, he clarified quickly. You've built something remarkable here, something that's yours. I'm asking if there's a way forward professionally, and perhaps, he hesitated, personally, on equal terms. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the large windows. In the soft gray light, Nathaniel looked more human than she'd ever seen him, vulnerable in a way the billionaire CEO never allowed himself to be. Equal terms, she repeated thoughtfully. That's a new concept for you. I'm adaptable when properly motivated. A small smile tugged at her lips. And what exactly are you proposing, Mr. West? Dinner, he said simply. Tonight, to discuss the partnership details as business. To start with, his gaze was steady. The rest, I believe that's for us to determine together. Priya considered the man before her brilliant, complicated, and finally willing to step beyond the walls he'd built around himself. She thought about the journey that had brought them here, beginning with an email never meant for his eyes. I think, she said finally, that would be acceptable. Something in his expression lightened, the tension he'd carried since entering visibly easing. 7 o'clock, she nodded. On one condition. Name it. You let me choose the restaurant, somewhere without white tablecloths or Michelin stars. For the first time, she saw Nathaniel West truly smile, not the slight upturning of lips he occasionally allowed, but a genuine expression that transformed his entire face. I believe I can adapt to those parameters, he said. As he turned to leave, Priya called after him. Nathaniel, he paused at the door. Yes, how did you find me? I never mentioned the studio's name or location. That hint of a smile returned. You forget. Read your emails. You and Zoe had this planned for years. The name, the location, all of it. He shrugged slightly. Some accidents are just destiny finding its way. With that, he disappeared into the rain, leaving Priya with a partnership contract, a dinner invitation, and the distinct feeling that her misdirected email had somehow found exactly the right recipient after all.